My name is Danee, and I am your healthcare hero. I've spent the last 2 years in the front lines of this virus. When the vaccine became available, I didn't want it, but I felt the duty to lead by example and do what was best to protect my community, my family, my patients, because that's what I was told that this would do. But let me tell you what it did do. On January 10th, my life changed forever. What started as a headache, 13 hours after my vaccine, ended up being inflammation in my brain, increased intracranial pressure. I have neurological deficits such as a stutter, twitches, tremors, which recently led me to falling and breaking my foot. I have blood clots and I am on daily blood thinner injections. I am a guinea pig with no definite answer if I will ever be fixed. I have spent $20,000 on treatment, IVIG, plasmapheresis. I'm on 23 pills a day and no change to show for it. Doctors don't listen, and after multiple hospital visits, I can no longer work. I am real, the danger of this is real, and I am here tonight because I want to make sure that you are okay with sitting here and looking at me and being responsible for every child injury that comes after me.
So tell us a little bit about what life was like pre-vaccination.
Super active. Obviously working in a hospital. I loved what I did. That was my passion was, helping people. And it went even further and beyond just helping people inside the hospital. I did a lot of charity events and, kids that were terminally ill and, not building homes, but remodeling homes with my cousin. We did a lot of different, projects and stuff like that even did stuff on The Voice, did some furniture for The Voice. I was super active, traveled a lot, snowboard, went to the river all the time. Life was good. Bought my first home and no complaints. No complaints at all.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Super active, no major issues until we took the shot, and then for me the next day everything kind of started. So when did your symptoms kind of start popping up?
So the first one in December, I didn't realize anything really, and then the second one, it was 12 hours after my second one, just
Oh wow.
horrible fever, the headaches you would not believe, just tremendous amount of headaches. The pain was unbelievable.
Yep.
Then the brain fog started, and it just kind of every couple weeks something else added, the swollen lymph nodes, and then I was having really bad GI issues, and the headaches though were the one thing that was constant, every single day. And then all of a sudden, the difficulty with my balance and holding things and grasping things in my hands. Then the stuttering started, the facial twitches. Then I had trouble walking. I was dragging one leg. And it just went from, there to my heart rate going everywhere. Just nonstop.
Yeah, me and you, we share a lot of the same things. I don't have I don't have the stuttering manifestations, but I deal with the brain fog really bad. I deal with the dizziness, the off balance. Do you have a lot of head pressure? Like, does it feel like? For me, it feels like there's something almost going up my neck into the back of my head, and it presses on the bottom of my brain. I know that sounds so crazy.
So mine is weird. It's almost like I could hear it popping on the inside. I hear
Really?
something when
Yeah.
I'm in a lot of pain, but
Mm-hmm.
mine feels like my brain is trying to explode out the skull. Like
Expand.
I
Yeah.
feel, yeah, it feels just, and that's just the weirdest thing. It's not, people talk about headaches, a crushing pain. Mine is inside out.
Yep.
And it is completely, and depending on how bad the pain is, also has a lot to do with how bad my tremors are. I mean, I tremor constantly. I mean, my hands are constantly going.
Yep. Yep.
But depending on the pain has a lot to do with how bad my brain fog will be. I mean, there's some days I can't put together a sentence.
Really.
How bad my leg, depending on my pain, my leg, that's when it's almost like they call it drop foot, but it's also
Mm-hmm.
when I look at videos or watch me walking, it's almost like my knee hyperextends. I almost flop a leg and then hyperextend my knee. It's the super weird. It's
That is
The
weird.
weirdest
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But, all things I've never done before. So it's like,
Right. Yeah, yeah, all new things. We're kind of learning this as we go, day by day. Um,
absolutely.
Now, quick question. So, one thing that I've noticed is like when I sleep in different positions. Like I think for me, like I think a lot of my, off balance and pressure and head and stuff like that, it generates in my neck. And when I lay certain ways, like I'll literally wake up in the middle of the night and have just excruciating pain in my neck, and then it goes into the back of my head, and that's when I get the real bad migraines coming on and the head pressure. Have you noticed anything, with your neck at all, or is it mostly just in your head?
It's mostly in my head.
Okay.
I mean, I've had neck pain, it's all over. So, I mean, but I don't necessarily feel anything just in the back part of my head.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've talked to a couple of other people that have experienced the back of the head and then some of the front, some of it's the whole head, debilitating migraines constantly. Did
And
you,
can we really call it migraines? I mean, that's just
uh, you know,
I don't even like using that word. I think it's just because it pissed me off so bad going to the hospital because they're like, oh, you have a migraine. Well,
yep,
9 migraine medicines later, and a migraine
nothing.
doesn't last 24 hours a day, 7 days a week
Exactly.
for eight. What am I on? 800 and something days of headaches. Like that's not a migraine anymore.
It really isn't. At that point, it's like
I'm not.
something
I'm not
completely
letting him
different.
get. Yeah, I'm not giving him that out anymore. It's not a freaking migraine.
I agree. I agree. I totally agree with you. Um, so do you have the fisculations like many of us have? Like they're basically like muscle twitch, constant little muscle
Oh,
twitches.
constant. Yeah, yeah. And I have those not only in my hands and arms, but like I have tons of video because I take videos for everything, right?
Yeah,
Whenever
me too.
something stupid starts happening with my body, I'm all, "Arr!" So, and then sometimes that's hard because your hands are shaking, or I'll have to
Yep.
set it somewhere, have someone else record. But my shoulder, the muscle in my shoulder will start going crazy. I get them in my hamstrings a
Yep.
lot,
Yep.
and my quads. I also on the top of my feet will start moving around everywhere. I
Yep.
get a lot of the moving around of the twitching.
Yeah, when I first started getting them, I literally thought an ant was crawling on me or like a bug or something like that. And I looked down, I'm like, there's nothing on me. And then it kept going. And I looked at my foot and my skin was literally just, doing
Yeah.
this. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And then it graduated into my legs and now it's in my biceps, my back, it started in my eyes. Um, did that start right away for you or was that something that came on later?
I want to say everything pretty much that was noticeable started happening 3 to 4 months. I
Oh,
mean, like, I
yeah.
mean, super noticeable. Like
Yep.
the stutter didn't start until like June, right?
Oh,
But like,
really?
yeah. So, but I don't know. It was gradual. Like I don't know if I didn't really I personally didn't pinpoint it to the vaccine myself self
Hmm.
until a few months after.
Hmm.
So I don't know if I had some of these little things happening prior and I really wasn't paying attention because I
Right.
was just so overwhelmed with the head pain,
Mm.
and the other things that it was constantly doing. But I mean, I didn't really start really noticing all of this accumulation of things until a couple months after.
Yeah, yeah. I think mine was like month 3 or 4 where I started really
Yeah,
noticing
yeah.
a lot of the stuff. The first thing for me was the head pressure. Like
Oh, yeah.
I was telling people like it felt like concrete or glue or something was in my head, and
Hmm.
the pressure was unreal. So you were a nurse, correct?
I was a respiratory therapist.
Respiratory therapist, and you
Yeah,
were like you were basically on the front line of COVID. Like you saw
absolutely.
the whole thing.
So, yeah, so what happened is I did children's trauma, children's hospitals prior to this. So my whole world has been kids, right? So
Yep.
when I start seeing the news, then there's this, huge pandemic, right? We're short ventilators. We don't have staff. I'm watching the news and I'm seeing bodies lining the hallways. Well, I work trauma, so I'm all about that,
Yep. That
war
life.
stuff,
Yeah.
that life. So I was like, dude, I'm gonna go. Like, I want to help my brothers and sisters. I really want to go see what this is all about. Number one, because I wanted to go see what it was all about. But I also in my head like had this my own little. Do I really believe in this COVID thing? Like, is it
Yeah.
really the flu? Like, I had my own feelings about it. So like, let's go see what's going on. So I quit, the children's world, and I signed up as a traveling respiratory therapist. So basically what that means is instead of getting a job at one facility, you sign up with this traveling agency, see, and they send you to where the hot spots are. So you get sent to wherever they need you most, anywhere in the country. So I
Hmm.
was like, all right, cool. So I signed, and plus the money is phenomenal for that.
Right.
So I signed up for all these emergency things, and I started getting canceled for them. I got canceled to go to New York. I got canceled to go to Texas. I got canceled to go to Arizona. I started getting canceled in downtown LA, and I was like, all right, well, this thing isn't really like a thing that then.
Right.
And then finally, I did get an assignment working in LA County, and it was actually at one of these hospitals that I had always dreamed of working at. It's an adult hospital, but they're a rad trauma center, and they're in a great area close to my home. So I got this job there, and the first round kind of came along, and yeah, it was not that big of a deal, but it was still scary for the people that had it, right? I mean, it
Right.
was busy, but it wasn't like what I was seeing on the news, so I was a little disappointed. And then that second round came, and yeah, it was a lot busier. But in hindsight, I was seeing that 1%, right? I was seeing the
Hmm.
worst of the worst with COVID. And the other thing is that what what the people don't really talk about is that, in a hospital, people come in and they have heart surgeries or heart attacks and strokes and car accidents, right? Right. And you only stay in a hospital for so many days, and then that bed flips like a hospital is a bit business. So
Right.
people aren't meant to stay there for months, right? Well, these COVID patients, they were coming in, and they were there on the floors on regular oxygen for 2 and 3, 4 weeks. Then you'd get people that would be on ventilators for 2 and 3 and months. And
Right.
so the reason I felt like the hospitals were so flowing is not necessarily because there was a long line of people outside trying to come in. It was no one was ever going home.
Right.
So if people aren't going home, but people are still coming in, we have to put them somewhere.
Right.
So
Right.
that's why our ICUs were overrun, and that's why our hospitals were overrun, and we had so many COVID patients, is because they didn't go home in 2 and 3 days like the normal patients do.
Normal patients. Yeah.
So it was scarier. We did a lot of CPR. We were doing a lot of things we didn't know. It was all a learning curve for us working the ventilators, trying to figure out how to oxygenate them because they couldn't oxygenate them. And,
Right.
a lot of things, it was just trial and error. And it scared me. That part scared me. I was working my butt off. And, the comorbidities of the people with COVID, my mom has some of those. And, she's my best friend. And
Yeah.
the thought of bringing that home to her
Yep.
freaked me out. I wasn't afraid for me at all. Like I
Yeah.
figured
Same.
I could get
Yeah.
COVID with this, but God, if I brought this home to my mom, that would freak me out. I would never get over that.
Yeah. I mean, my
So they
dad.
rolled.
Sorry. Yeah. My dad
No, go
had
ahead.
my dad had cancer. So I was like, the last thing I can do is bring COVID to him, right? Like,
Yeah,
everything we were being told, and what I looked into as far as like the spike protein and what this virus was doing at that point in time and what we knew, I was like, there's no way I'm bringing this home to my dad. You know what I mean? Going through
yeah,
chemo and all those other things. So I understand that fully.
for sure. So then the I had gotten taken off of the travel assignment because I was good at what I did,
Yeah.
and
Right.
they offered me a full-time position. So I jumped on that. So I took the job. I was in my 90-day probation. Sure enough, at the beginning of December, here comes the COVID vaccine rollouts. And at
Mm-hmm.
first, I was a hard no. I was like, no,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't trust this thing. Now, however, I am vaccinated completely with every other vaccine known to man. I get my flu shot every year because I work in a hospital, and you have to. I'm not a fan of masks, so they make you take the flu shot. Otherwise, you have to wear a mask all year. So this came out, and I was like, nope, I'm not interested. And then it got to the point where I was talking to one of the new supervisors in my department, and he was like, well, they're going to mandate it. It's going to happen. They probably, won't keep you on the schedule. We don't know if you're in your probation, what's going to happen. And if you don't, and even though it wasn't mandated at that time, I was in a different position because I was in probation, right?
Right.
So, and then, I started thinking, God, do I do this? Like, do I do this to help my mom? Do I do this so I called some of my great buddies that are, not cops, that are doctors that I worked with at other facilities, and talked to them. And I was like, hey, on the opposite side of the fence with this thing. I don't want it, but they're pushing it pretty hard at work, really encouraging it. And like I said, before the mandates, still really pushing it and encouraging it. You work in the COVID units, you should have it.
Right.
And so I said, make me feel comfortable with making that decision. So I don't want to worry about losing my job. I had just purchased a brand new home. I hadn't even moved in yet. Like, tell me I should do this, why I should do this. And I let them talk me into it. Oh, this is old technology. This is nothing new. It's been tested. It's safe, blah, 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 blah. And I mean, in all honesty, I don't watch mainstream media. I hate when people now tell me, well, we tried to warn you. The only things we were talking about was, the Bell's palsy or anaphylaxis. And that was the other things that we were talking about. So we didn't really have informed consent. We didn't really know all of the other things that the Pfizer documents that they didn't want to release. If I would have known all of those things were on the list,
no way.
Probably wouldn't have done it. Yeah. It came out. I did it. Like I said, the first one was fine, and then the second one, it just threw me in for a loop.
Which boils down for me, you know what I mean? What makes sense to me, I guess you could say, is it's got to be some kind of contamination or different loads per batch or something, because
absolutely there's different toxicities per batch.
Yeah, it has to be, because I mean, like you said, batch 1 fine, no problems at all, right? Batch 2, boom, it's almost instantaneous. For me, batch 1 almost instantaneous, right? Like it's like something is wrong with certain batches, and that's kind of how I feel in my gut, that something's going on there.
Absolutely. Well, I think there's something wrong with all batches, but
Right.
but here's the thing though. Even though I might not have felt it after my first one, I haven't had a menstrual cycle since my first one, and I am not I'm not in menopause, but
right.
I haven't had a period since December of 2020. I mean, I'm not complaining about that part. That's the only part of this whole thing that I'm kind of pumped about.
Yep.
but it's not normal. But I mean, I looked up, I have Pfizer, both of them. EH9899 is my first batch or first dose. And then, EL12433 was my second one. And they're listed, both of them, as one of the, like, if you look them up on how bad is my batch, they're part of the most toxic doses.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. And me being, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, even though a lot of my conspiracies are coming true. But
I think
like in the beginning,
yeah.
Right. One of the things in my head that I thought about was like, okay, if this is really population control, right. And I mean, I'm going off on a tangent here, but this is where my mind was at, because I was afraid of it. Yeah. I said the first dose is going to be the safest dose because it's for all of the essential people. So they're not going to want to kill us off.
They don't want to. Yeah. They don't want to. Yeah.
So when it goes to the masses, that'll be the dirty dose. Like that's the one that's going to be bad. But I think it was planned this way. I don't know. I truly in my gut feel like this is all a plan.
The crazy thing is that, like, I try to debunk that as much as I possibly can, right? Like, I'm just like, oh, it can't be that bad. It can't be that bad. But everything that I learn day after day, month after month, it's just looking nastier and nastier, right? Like,
yeah.
It's almost,
and I hate that for humanity.
I know it's horrible. It's horrible to think that way, but it's like when you look at when you live through this, when you go through this personally, and you're enveloped in it, and you look at it every single day, and you look at the studies that are coming out and what they knew previously, and this, that, and everything. Like, you're just like, how could this have not been orchestrated in some fashion? And now you're seeing, a lot of evidence for the lab leak theory becoming true, and every conspiracy, quote unquote conspiracy theory that we so-called have is coming to light.
Yeah. And here's the thing, when you listen to Ryan Cole talking about it, Dr. Ryan Cole, amazing. He's a pathologist, watching what this stuff is doing to the body.
Yep.
And he did a video way in the beginning talking about how the T cells are getting eaten up and dying off from this thing, and how it's causing all these autoimmune and herpes simplex viruses. Do you know the majority of us vaccine people, injured people, have Epstein-Barr virus, relapses, or chronic Epstein-Barr. We have Lyme disease now. I've never been bit by a tick. How is it that we all have these issues?
Right.
everything that I have is in those 9 pages of the Pfizer documents that they
Right.
didn't want to put up. The demyelination polyneuropathy, all
Yep.
of my autoimmune disorders.
Yeah, and you know,
So after seeing Ryan Cole talking about that stuff, you know, it and then hearing about all the Pfizer documents, and then seeing how many of us all suffer from the same things, the
right.
blood clotting, the tremors, the
Yep.
headaches. I mean, all of that stuff is documented. They're finding out that we all have that in common. That's not, you know, I don't
It's
find
not
that to be a
a
fluke.
coincidence. Yeah. And you
Yeah.
know what, you know what I found very strange is that when I first started getting testing, because I've been through, you know, a zillion different doctors, had, you know, a million tests. But when I first started getting tested, they kept talking about testing me for HIV. And I'm like, okay, yeah, no problem, right? Negative. Oh, let's test it again. Negative. Oh, let's test it again. Negative. And I'm like, all right, why are they testing for HIV over and over again like that? And then, you know, there was a lot of doctors coming out. Dr. Bruce Patterson was one of them, and he's using Maraviroc. Maraviroc is what? An HIV drug, right?
HIV med.
And then you learn into the glycoproteins that they use to quote unquote engineer the virus. All proteins, you know, from HIV and from other things, and it's a scary road. Once you go down that road, I'm not advising anyone to go down that road, but once you do, you're just like, man, something's up and something's wrong.
Something's not right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about, you know, kind of like what you've tried. I mean, I know you've gone really through a million different things. Maybe some of the big ones. See, you know, has anything given any kind of results at all? If any alleviated anything? I'm interested in Dr. Corey's experience that you had with him. So yeah, if you want to just.
So my idea on all of this, it was, you know, when I started speaking up, the squeaky wheel always gets the oil, right? You know,
Right.
and at first I didn't want to say anything because I was getting bashed for talking about it, and my doctors didn't believe me, and I was having struggling with just that. But then I thought, you know, if I get loud and really start pushing this thing, someone's going to hear about my story and want to help me. And then it turned into, in the back of my head, they've taken my career away from me. I can't work anymore. So what if I'm the one that tries all of these things and I find the answer, so I can now use my voice to help other people get better, right? Which hasn't worked either. But so I started out with with just integrative medicine. The only doctor MD that like in normal medicine, I guess you would call it, that it helped me was my neurologist. So once he started running tests and seeing diffuse brain dysfunction and the inflammation in my brain and the issues with my abnormal movements and speaking, like he was on board immediately. He knew the vaccine caused all this. So did my primary MD. But when I'd go to the ER or anything else like that, it was all whatever.
Yeah.
But so integrative medicine, that was my only choice. Those are the only. So I had heard of like a guy named Dr. G in LA that was helping vaccine injured. I couldn't validate coming up with that kind of money in the very beginning to do all that. And I really struggled anyway because I'm in medicine. So hearing about integrative doctors, I do have a new respect for them. But in the beginning, it's a lot of like, seems like snake oil.
It really does. It really does.
They're like car salesmen to me.
Yep.
It's like, oh, you need this.
Yep.
Oh, okay, that's $7,500. I'm like, what the shit? You just gave me a bag of vitamin C. Exactly. So I started out with going to LA, doing some ozone and a lot of different IV therapies, and then that didn't do anything for me. I went on Maraviroc. I did the whole Patterson protocol. Didn't really notice a difference with that. I've done EBU, which is like ozone, but almost like a plasmapheresis type ozone thing that they do filtration. I did that, many of those. I've done probably over almost 30 hyperbaric chambers at this point. And I've done all types of things. That anyone that's messaged me anything online, I mean, I drank pine needle tea until I grew a star on my head and started smelling like a Christmas tree. So please stop with the pine needle tea thing. It's not a thing. The alfalfa bath, I've done that and looked for the nanoparticles in the alfalfa bath. I've done coffee enemas. I've done stem cell therapy. I went to a program in Florida and stayed there for a month and did therapy there. I've almost $50,000 at this point in therapy. I've had osteo something or other, what they mess with your brain that way. I've done Cereset, and where they've done brain mapping. If it's out there, I've tried it. I'm on
Tried it.
ivermectin. I'm on every med that you could think of. I have to be on the blood thinners because of my blood is super thick. My PTT time and my D dimer are both super abnormal.
So they did see the coagulation
Yeah,
pretty much.
yeah. So I at one point I was on Lovenox, Eliquis, um, Eliquis, Pravastatin.
Yep.
There was like 4 or 5 that I was on all at once. I have weaned down. I'm only on the Eliquis now, and then I'm also on nattokinase, lumbrokinase, and serapeptase, and an aspirin.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. The kinases seem very popular these days. They
yeah,
seem like they're helping. So that's good.
so I feel like Ebu. I did Methylene Blue with the red light therapy. I feel like the I've done IVIG, IMIG, the
Really.
yeah, the Ebu probably helped me the most. That would
Mm-hmm.
give me breaks and headaches. There was a point in the beginning where I was doing IV Solumedrol and IMIG at home every other day.
Mm-hmm.
And I would see breaks for maybe a day, and then the Ebu I would do, and I would get a break for maybe a couple days. I did the stem cell. My tremors went away for about three days, and my headaches ceased. I've probably in this whole time have gone maybe 10 days without a headache, sporadically 3 out of 800 days.
Mm.
Um, so, but no, nothing has really helped to this point to get me over the hump. Now, some things that I've done, other people have done, and they're all better.
Right.
Um, and I don't understand why that it is. But at this point where I'm at is number one, out of money, and I'm done trying to beg and plead for any more.
Yeah.
I'm super grateful for all those that have helped me. But I can't mentally take the up and down roller coaster anymore. The excitement of a new treatment, it's
Yep.
gonna work, and do everything to get funding to go do it, and then maybe feel better for a day or two, and then that hardcore crash of it not working. That
Yeah.
defeat has put me in a place that I don't. I for right now I'm just done.
Completely
Um,
understand.
so as far as Dr. Corey, he's a hero to me. He is my only doctor
Mm-hmm.
at this point, other than my neurologist and endocrinologist. But he is my go-to for everything. He controls all my meds. Um, but he is trying so hard, but he doesn't have an answer right now for
Yeah.
there's a handful of us that he doesn't have an answer for us for, and it breaks my heart to put him in that position because you want an answer, but God, I respect him for how many people he's helping, and but I don't know. I think there's a part of me in the back of my head that just accepts that this is the way we are. I think it's been too long, and I think the damage has been done. The autoimmunes, the Lyme, the Epstein-Barr, the carotid artery vasculitis, my demyelinating polyneuropathy. I mean, I've got a collection of them happening.
Yeah.
It's just the meds
So
don't help, and
so you have official diagnosis of a couple of different conditions, correct?
yeah, yes,
And
yes, I
well,
have the demyelinating polyneuropathy. I have Lyme
yep, that seems
disease. I
popular.
have
Yep.
chronic. I have chronic Epstein-Barr virus. I have carotid artery vasculitis. I have Hashimoto's, so it's caused a lot of inflammation in my thyroid.
Yep.
The blood clotting issues, increased or not increased inflammation in my brain
Yep.
from my MRI. I've done LPs. So I mean, yeah,
Moving
this is
along.
just the way it is.
Yeah. So I mean, where does that leave you? You know what I mean? You know, do we do you do we try detox? I mean, because like you said, it's there are in some of us. I'm not saying in all, right? And I don't want to discourage people from trying treatments or to push forward. I mean, that is not not my
Yeah,
objective by any means,
I mean,
right?
because
Like
some people have gotten better just
some
doing
people
ivermectin. Try
exactly,
it.
exactly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
We're saying try everything, try to do your best to get better. Stay
absolutely.
as positive as absolutely possible, because that is crucial to get through this and to be strong through this. But some of us, right? Like for me, it's been 22 months. And, you know, there's definitely lingering symptoms daily. There's definitely neurological things going on daily with me. What's interesting is that, like, I think a lot of my issues stem from inflammation because my symptoms wax and wane. They get worse, they get better, they get worse, they get better. Some days are completely brutal and put me on the floor, and some days I'm up and talking like we are today. You know what I mean? So, but for me, it's, you know, I'm not going to give up. Like, I know,
No.
I know that I can at least have somewhat of a sustainable life and get to a sustainable part. And if I have to deal with certain damage forever, then I'm gonna have to deal with that. I'm gonna have to live with that, and I'm gonna have to learn how to live around that, because they're not gonna win. You know what I mean? I it was about a year ago where I decided that they will not win. You know, I laid on the floor in tears almost every day of my life, and I looked at my son and I said, you know, I watched my son look at me and watch me go through this, and I said, this is not the father he's going to see. You know, even if this thing takes me out, I'm not going to allow him to remember me as that person that was literally laying on the floor every day, wasting away. I'm just not going to do it. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with this whole thing.
I want to help people.
Me too.
Physically, can I go do the treatments? Not right now. I'm taking a break for my mental health with that right now. Am I going to get back on the horse and, you know, ride off into the sunset and keep trying things out? Absolutely. I mean, I want my life back. I'm losing my home. I'm leaving the state. My life, I have no control over anything right now. My job is gone. I have nothing. And but right now, I think being loud is what's important. I think we are putting a crack in the dam. I think it's going to fall apart. And I think the more of us that get up and get loud, you know, everybody's like, oh, one day you're going to be able to sue. I don't want to sue for millions of dollars. I want, they come up with the answer. Right. I want you guys to know, give us the truth of what happened so we know how to get help. You know, but right now I think our job is just to be loud.
Right. And like I said in the last interview, right? Like their big concern is vaccine misinformation and vaccine hesitancy. You know, they're creating that hesitancy, right? Like, people are seeing us, right? And they're like, oh, okay, well, they're injured from you know, this medication or this vaccine or whatever, and there's, you know, the other side is like, oh, these people don't even exist. They don't even exist. It's not happening. So people are like, wow, like, I'm not, you know, how can I possibly trust when I see these people going through this and I hear these people, their stories, and I see their results and, you know, their X-rays, their MRIs, and then I hear the other side say, oh, that's not possible. That's not, you know, that's not happening. How could you possibly trust that person and then go and get, you know, an untested, well, I don't want to say untested, but a very mildly tested, unprovenly safe intervention, right? It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So,
nope. You know, and it's so hard because you got on the backside of this, we get bullied whenever we do something online. I'm sure you get it too. You know, you get the death threats, or you get the making fun of me constantly, and I get all, or the people that say, "Oh, well, I got mine and nothing happened to me."
Exactly.
And it, you know, it's just like I said on one of my other interviews. It's like, I'm so sick of that statement. It's like when someone tells you that their husband died in a car accident and you say, well, I drove here just fine. Nothing happened to me. It is the most insensitive thing you can say to someone. And the fact that I have to drive around and walk around with this binder everywhere I go that has every medical record and everything that's going on, because I feel like I'm constantly on trial. I'm constantly having to prove myself. And I'm not doing it to prove myself to you because I want you to do something for me. I'm trying to do something for you.
Right.
I'm trying to open your eyes. And the sad part is we are starting to see a lot of people dropping dead or having issues, having heart attacks from this. But the scary part to me is the people that believe in this thing so much that don't think that anything's happening from it. Their family members are dropping dead or having heart attacks or issues, and they won't put two and two together, even if it hits them in the face.
Yeah, I mean,
and those are the people I want to hit. And I want to reach those ones.
Yeah, exactly. Like just wake them up, shake them a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that's one thing that I don't think a lot of people understand, is that just because you're not vaccine injured, right, doesn't mean there's not other things going on inside. Because
Yeah.
There's one of two things. It's either, got into a certain select amount of people's bloodstreams, right? Or it's in everybody, right? And it's just the way the immune system acts. So just because you're not having immediate reactions doesn't mean that there isn't something, happening that's going to cause problems down the road.
Look at the studies of the amount of cancers, the uptick in
Exactly.
cancer. I mean, you're not going to notice that right away, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, you're not
yeah,
going to notice that right away.
My sister's a traveling nurse too, and like you said, it was like 2 or 3 days after her first shot, period stop, menstruating stop altogether, and that was like that for like 6 months. And they, being a nurse, they kept forcing the shot on her. So God knows what that's going to cause. You know what I mean? What that's going to do to fertility and everything else. Because
we don't know what the long-term effects are going to be yet.
Nope, we don't, and it's sad. Well, I mean, so Dr. Corey, because you were on triple, the triple anticoagulation therapy, correct? Did you see any difference on that at all?
Not physically. And unfortunately, even when we were still doing my blood work, for being on that much anticoagulants, it still wasn't great.
Okay.
During that point, though, I had to be really careful. I had fallen with my tremors. I had fallen and hit my head and cracked my skull. So, I just had a lot of issues.
Right.
But no, I didn't notice any huge differences. I couldn't be on it, though, anymore. When I went to Florida to go do that, the therapy out there, I was doing EBU every other day, so I wasn't allowed to be on those type of blood thinners in order to go through all of that. So they had to wean me off and put me on the natural blood thinners. But I mean, I haven't, ever since I've come back, I really even haven't had blood work anymore to check and see where I'm at on anything.
I mean, personally, I don't blame you.
And that's Dr. Corey's feeling on it all too. It's really hard to gauge. It's hard to gauge microclotting, even with a D-dimer and even with the PTT. Like, those may be off, but it's really hard to gauge how the anticoagulation is doing. There's really no test for it. And so that's why he's so hesitant to keep trying testing for it, because what's it really going to tell us?
Yeah, so there's actually a doctor up in NYU Langone, Dr. Vaughn. The last guest that I had on, she was talking about that, Dr. Vaughn. Have you heard about him at all?
The name sounds familiar. I don't know that.
They actually have a test now that's showing the clots, that's showing the microclots. They have had her on the triple anticoagulant therapy, and it's not breaking the clots down like they thought it would, right? So that's why they think that they're extremely fibrous, and they're very stringy and tough to break down. So, that's why I thought like the kinases, the nattokinase, lumbar kinase, were interesting because of their, fibrin breakdown properties that they had. So how long have you been on those for?
Let's see. So I started the Lumbro and all of that stuff about 3 to 4 weeks prior to going to Florida, and I went to Florida in October. Gotcha. So I've been on the natural since then. Now, mind you, when I went to Florida, we did live blood analysis, so which they could see the clotting and the fibrinogen and stuff in the blood as well. And I mean, it was unbelievable what my blood looked like. It was pretty cool to see. I mean, I recorded all of it and going through that whole thing, but it was unbelievable.
Yeah, I can imagine. So yeah, I mean, where does that kind of leave you now? So you're going to focus on.
I'm focusing on being loud. That's where I'm at right now. On the days when I feel good enough to get up and get loud, I'm going to get loud. I have a few things in the works that hopefully I can let you guys know about soon.
Absolutely.
But as far as treatments for right now, I feel like I've done everything that's out there on the market for me to do. I have one person that's a good friend of mine that's trying to talk me into doing some type of urine therapy where you drink your own urine. So I struggling, bro.
That would be a little tough to accept.
That one's a little tough to swallow.
No.
So, but I mean, I'm not against anything. It's just where I am at on treatment right now is I'm accepting this is where I am, and I'm going to live with in my own skin for a little bit, even though it sucks and I'm sick most of the time. But I have to get through this move and figure out how to finish out the next couple months of my life and get some other
Yeah.
things going and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I had to relocate too. I had to leave California. It was just too much, you know. We're out in Vegas now, and couldn't, you know, just couldn't take California anymore for multiple reasons. It was
No.
just too astronomically expensive. I mean, you know, I refused my son getting this whatsoever.
Yeah.
So we had to go. So I mean, I totally understand you there.
Well, I'm going to be
This,
about an hour and a half away from you, so we better get together. I'm
hey,
going just on the other side of Arizona.
hey, yeah. I mean, you know, maybe some
Yeah.
organizations, you know, maybe some gatherings. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
because the thing is that like if we don't speak up, if we don't make our voices heard, this will continue to happen, right? Like a lot of people are like,
Yeah.
oh, COVID's over. You know, why are people still talking about this? Blah 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 blah. Well, guess what? This is not the last time this is going to happen. Trust me. COVID
No.
was just a pre-test run. There's other
Yeah, they've
things
got them lined up.
coming down the pipeline, and this mRNA technology is going nowhere. If anything, they're ramping it full speed with no care in the world. I mean, it's going to wind up in your food. It's going to be everywhere. So
Yep.
trust me, you want to understand this. You want to understand the technology. You want to understand these injuries, because if we don't speak up and don't do something about it, this will continue and it will affect everyone worldwide. So,
Yep.
you know, I want to thank you for being here. Before you go,
Absolutely.
is there any websites? Is there anything that you want to, you know, shout out? I will definitely link your Instagram or any other things that you
I have
have.
just on Facebook. I have the Danee's Journey, and a lot of
Okay.
people try and request to be my friend on Facebook, and I try and keep my
Yeah.
normal Facebook book.
Yep. Yep.
Um, but I do have a Facebook page called Danee's Journey where I update as much as I can and talk on there about just this
Right.
and post my interviews or do whatever. So you're more than welcome to follow me along there, and hopefully we'll have some exciting news to come out with like soon, and it's a place for you to let's all get together and
Yeah.
stand up for
Yeah.
something that's right.
Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, thank you so much for taking the time. I mean, I
Oh,
know it's
thank
not
you.
easy, and I appreciate you being here. And I look forward to talking to you soon. And maybe talk about
Absolutely.
some organizations or gatherings or things
For
that we
sure.
can do to try to get our voices out there. All right.
I'd love that. Let's do that.
Okay. Great. All right. Thank you everyone for being here, and we'll see you next time.